does God resting have to do with creation? In fact, we often hear it called the 6 days of creation because we don't know how the seventh day fits in. We tend to think of it as an afterthought, kind of a theological moment, maybe an application to some practice in the ancient world. But it doesn't seem to us to have anything to do with creation. That's especially true if we've thought of the account as having to do with objects and material, because, of course, there's nothing material going on in day 7. This only shows us how our outsider status has prevented us from understanding this account. There's something here that any insider would understand without a second thought, and that we don't get at all. Whether the insider was an Israelite or a Babylonian or an Egyptian or an Assyrian, wouldn't matter. They would see something in this text that we don't see. In fact, if they were to read this text, they would complete it and then they would say, oh, this is a temple account. And we would be puzzled. We would say, how can it be a temple account? I don't see any reference to a temple here. How can you say it's a temple account? And they would say, it's really very obvious. We would say, well, it's not obvious to us. See, this is an insider-outsider problem going on here. It's perfectly clear to them. And so they would have to explain it to us. They would say, if God is resting, it's a temple. And we would still say, where in the world do you get that? How would you come to that conclusion? And so we would have to be instructed to learn that in the ancient world, gods rest in temples. And temples are constructed for gods to rest in. The whole equation holds together. So if deity's resting, it's got to be a temple account. That is not something that is inherent in our thinking, because we're outsiders. Not only is the temple the place where deity rested, we find out that his resting in the temple doesn't really have to do with relaxing. His resting in the temple has to do with ruling, because the temple is not just his personal private residence. The temple is the command center of the cosmos. It's the control room. This is where the cosmos is run from. That's why, in the ancient world, often when they have a cosmology, the organizing and ordering of the universe, then they have a temple building because you need headquarters. Headquarters from which control is going to be exercised, where the deity is going to rule over that place that he has ordered. The temple is a place where God rests. That is, he takes up residence in order to rule over the ordered system that has been set up.
In the previous lesson, Dr. Walton states that the reference to God resting is a temple account, and he briefly explains why. He says that the typical Christian does not see this as a temple account because we are outsiders. In this lesson, I want to show you how to research this issue further using your Logos Bible software, so that we can better understand how the insiders originally reading this account would have understood it. First, open up the search window. We're going to use the basic search option. And since Dr. Walton talked about how the word rest helps indicate that this is a temple account, we're going to search for temple and rest to see if we can find more information about this. The word and needs to be in all capital letters, and this tells Logos to find all the times when these two words are used in the same discussion. Within these results, there is a result labeled Biblical Relevance from the Lexham Bible Dictionary. If you open it up, it gives a specific example of the ancient accounts Dr. Walton referenced. In the creation account of the Enuma Elish, Marduk creates a temple so that he can rest. and one of Dr. Walton's works is even cited here. Going back to our search results, a little farther down we have a Lexham Bible Dictionary article specifically on the garden as temple, which provides even stronger support for this idea from Scripture, such as Ezekiel, where descriptions of the temple mirror descriptions of the stones and gems of the garden in Genesis. It mentions that the garden and temple were both oriented eastward, and that rivers flow from both in Scripture. It goes on to mention that Akkadian ritual records command for the temple to be sprinkled with water from the Tigris and Euphrates, possibly showing how the mention of these rivers with the Garden of Eden support a temple account as well. It proceeds even further to show that the words used for Adam's work were used elsewhere in regards to the tabernacle, and points out strong cherubim imagery used here and for the temple. This article then closes with a helpful bibliography. Now let's change our search terms to garden and temple, because this will pick up any results that compare the garden to a temple, yet don't mention rest as one of the reasons. Here we get a result titled Seek and Hide from the Preaching the Word commentary on Genesis. This doesn't add any new information, but it does provide it in a briefer and more devotional format. A few more entries down, and we see this resource again with a section titled Ultimate Grace, where it continues some devotional thoughts and application. The last search result I'll point out is called Cosmic Garden and Mountain Imagery in the Old Testament, from the Faith Life Study Bible. This article provides more specific examples of how the ancient Near Eastern people saw the gods using temples and gardens. Many of these examples can then be applied to understanding the Genesis account. At one point here, it even provides hyperlinks that can take you directly to these accounts in the context of Scripture resource. I hope you can take advantage of resources like these, which help us better understand how the original readers of Scripture would have understood it, helping us overcome our cultural outsider status.